When we talk about health, we often talk about what to eat. But today, I want to focus on what not to combine, especially when it comes to a fruit that's often hailed as a superfood, the humble, powerful antioxidant-rich blueberry. Blueberries have earned their place in nutritional science, not just as a superfood buzzword, but because of the clear, measurable effects they have on human physiology. When we look at the cellular and metabolic level, blueberries provide a specific class of compounds, anthocyanins, that act as powerful antioxidants. These are not just nice additions to the diet, they actively participate in neutralizing free radicals, reducing oxidative stress, and even improving endothelial function. That's the thin lining of our blood vessels, which plays a critical role in blood pressure regulation and cardiovascular protection. There's a consistent pattern that emerges when we look at populations consuming higher amounts of polyphenol-rich fruits like blueberries. We see reduced risk of cognitive decline, less progression of metabolic syndrome, and even improvement in insulin sensitivity. And the effects are not just observed over the long term. In some studies, changes in vascular function and cognition have been observed within weeks of daily blueberry consumption. This tells us that the biological compounds in blueberries are bioactive in real time. They're interacting with our genes, with our gut, with our inflammatory pathways right now, not just in the distant future. One of the most fascinating areas of research involves the relationship between blueberries and neuroprotection. Anthocyanins have been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier. Once there, they appear to enhance signaling in regions of the brain associated with memory and learning. That's remarkable. Very few plant compounds are able to influence neurological pathways so directly. It doesn't stop there. Blueberries also appear to reduce microglial activation. Those are the brain's immune cells. When overactivated, microglia contribute to neurodegeneration. Blueberries seem to calm that storm, acting almost like a moderator for brain inflammation. Another layer to this story is the impact on glucose metabolism. Blueberries, despite their sweetness, have a relatively low glycemic impact, but more than that, they improve insulin signaling. There's data showing that individuals who consume blueberries regularly have better glycemic control, even when other lifestyle factors remain unchanged. This tells us that the bioactive compounds are influencing how insulin is received at the cellular level. That could have far-reaching implications for people dealing with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. But the key takeaway here is that these benefits only manifest when blueberries are allowed to work as designed. They are a tool, a gift really from nature, but they require the right conditions. If we disrupt their pathway, if we block their receptors or neutralize their compounds through poor pairing or artificial additives, we lose that power. We don't need exotic pills or synthetic formulas. Often, the most powerful interventions are found in simple, whole foods, but only when we use them with wisdom. Blueberries are one such tool. When consumed properly, they don't just feed the body, they engage the body's own healing and defense systems. That's real nutrition. When we think about dairy, milk, yogurt, cheese, we often associate it with calcium, protein, and bone health. There's some truth to that. But what many people don't realize is that combining dairy, particularly milk or dairy-based yogurt, with antioxidant-rich fruits like blueberries may not produce the health outcome we expect. In fact, it may be doing the opposite. This is where the interaction between polyphenols and dairy proteins becomes clinically relevant. Blueberries contain a high concentration of anthocyanins and other flavonoids, which are types of polyphenols known to reduce oxidative stress, lower inflammation, and improve vascular and neurological function. These compounds, however, are extremely sensitive to the environment in which they're consumed. Casein, the primary protein in milk, has been shown to bind with polyphenols, particularly anthocyanins, forming complexes that reduce the solubility and bioavailability of these critical antioxidants. In simple terms, this binding process makes it harder for your body to absorb and utilize the benefits of blueberries. Now, this isn't just a theoretical concern. Several clinical and biochemical studies have demonstrated that the antioxidant capacity of polyphenol-rich foods is significantly diminished when combined with milk or dairy. One study in particular examined the effects of consuming chocolate, also rich in polyphenols with and without milk, and the findings were striking. The milk group showed significantly lower levels of antioxidant activity. That same principle applies to blueberries. The proteins in milk essentially trap the antioxidants, making them less available for absorption in the small intestine and reducing their systemic impact. Let's take this one step further. The goal of eating blueberries is not just to add fruit to your diet, but to leverage their therapeutic properties, the ability to reduce inflammation, lower blood pressure, support brain health, enhance endothelial function. If the very food we're combining them with blocks these effects, then we've missed the opportunity. It's like putting medicine in a capsule that never dissolves. The intention is good, but the delivery system fails. This becomes even more concerning when we consider how common these combinations are. Smoothies with blueberries and milk, yogurt parfaits with granola and fruit, even oatmeal with milk and berries. These are daily routines for many people. They're eaten with the belief that they're heart healthy or antioxidant rich, but we rarely pause to ask, how do these ingredients interact once they're inside the body? The takeaway is simple yet important. To maximize the impact of blueberries, avoid pairing them with dairy. Instead, opt for water-based smoothies, plant-based yogurts like almond or coconut, or just eat them plain. Let the antioxidants do their work unobstructed. It's not about eliminating dairy entirely, but about timing and combination. By being intentional with food pairing, we allow the body to receive the full benefit of what nature provides. The right food, consumed the right way, becomes a powerful tool in supporting long-term health. One of the most overlooked aspects of nutrition is the interaction between foods, not just their individual content, but how they behave together once they enter the body. This is particularly true when we consider something as nutrient-dense as blueberries being consumed alongside highly refined carbohydrates, such as sugary breakfast cereals, pastries, or white bread. On their own, blueberries have tremendous metabolic benefits. But when they're combined with processed carbohydrates, especially those high in added sugars, those benefits can be muted or even reversed. Let's start by understanding what blueberries do metabolically. These small berries contain powerful polyphenols that have been shown to modulate the body's insulin response. They don't just lower blood sugar spikes, they improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation in adipose tissue, and support better function of endothelial cells lining the blood vessels. This is crucial in preventing chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes and atherosclerosis. However, these functions are highly sensitive to context. When blueberries are paired with high glycemic foods, such as sugary cereals, they're essentially thrown into a storm of metabolic chaos. What happens next is critical. The refined carbohydrates break down quickly into glucose, spiking blood sugar and triggering a strong insulin response. That spike can set off a chain reaction, increased fat storage, oxidative stress, and the activation of pro-inflammatory pathways. Even though the blueberries are present, their antioxidant compounds are overwhelmed. They can't neutralize the free radicals fast enough. It's like pouring a cup of water on a house fire. The fire is just too intense. The good is lost in the flood of bad metabolic signaling. There's also an issue with cellular confusion. Polyphenols send a message to the cells: reduce inflammation, improve insulin response, support metabolic healing. But the sugar and processed carbs send a very different message: store energy rapidly, activate stress responses, and promote glycation, the damaging process where sugar binds to proteins, accelerating aging and vascular damage. The result is that the signals become contradictory, and the body ends up defaulting to the louder, more immediate cue. In this case, the carbohydrate overload. This is particularly problematic for people trying to eat better. They might add blueberries to their morning cereal or muffin, thinking it balances the meal. But what's actually happening is a suppression of the berry's potential. And in some cases, the net effect may lean toward harm rather than benefit. If the goal is to heal, to protect, to nourish, then combinations matter. Blueberries are most effective when consumed with fiber-rich, unprocessed foods that support slow, steady nutrient absorption. Think steel-cut oats, chia seeds, or raw nuts. These don't disrupt the metabolic environment. They work with the berries, not against them. This isn't about fear-based eating. It's about precision. It's about being aware that even good choices can become compromised when placed next to the wrong companions. And with something as powerful as blueberries, we don't want to miss the opportunity by letting their potential be drowned out by sugar. There's a subtle but significant interaction between what we eat and the internal environment it enters, particularly when it comes to the gut microbiome. The gut isn't just a passive digestive tube, it's a highly dynamic, metabolically active system. home to trillions of microorganisms. These microbes play a critical role in breaking down complex plant compounds, like the polyphenols in blueberries, into bioactive forms that our bodies can use. But what happens when we introduce artificial sweeteners into this equation? Unfortunately, we interfere with a delicate system, and the benefits of blueberries may be undermined as a result. Blueberries are rich in anthocyanins and other polyphenols, but these compounds don't just act directly in the bloodstream. Many require microbial transformation in the gut to become fully active. It's this conversion process that allows them to exert antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and neuroprotective effects systemically. But when artificial sweeteners are introduced, whether it's sucralose, aspartame, or saccharin, they alter the composition and function of the gut microbiota. Research has shown that even small amounts of these compounds can shift microbial diversity, reduce populations of beneficial bacteria, and increase markers of metabolic dysfunction. This means that if you're consuming blueberries in the context of artificially sweetened foods, say sugar-free yogurt or a low-carb dessert, the very compounds that give blueberries their health-promoting power may never fully activate. Their transformation gets stalled. And in some cases, harmful byproducts may even be produced as the gut adapts to the foreign substances from artificial additives. One study published in a prominent journal demonstrated that artificial sweeteners can induce glucose intolerance in both animals and humans by disrupting the gut microbiome. This is particularly troubling when paired with blueberries, which are known for improving glucose metabolism. You end up with conflicting effects. The blueberries try to improve insulin sensitivity, while the sweeteners contribute to insulin resistance. The result isn't neutral. It tilts the body toward dysfunction. Beyond glucose regulation, the immune system also becomes involved. A large portion of immune activity originates in the gut, and changes in microbial balance affect systemic inflammation. Artificial sweeteners have been linked to increased intestinal permeability, sometimes referred to as leaky gut, where unwanted substances pass into the bloodstream and trigger inflammatory responses. This directly opposes the anti-inflammatory role blueberries are supposed to play. It's easy to think that replacing sugar with something free is a step in the right direction, but the chemical substitutes, while low in calories, are not neutral. When paired with blueberries, they don't complement the benefits. They compete with them. The gut microbiome, in this case, becomes the battleground, and the outcome is often a weakened response from the fruit we intended to help us. To truly harness the healing potential of blueberries, they must be consumed in a clean, natural environment, free from synthetic additives that distort the body's natural processing systems. Let food be effective by allowing it to work with, not against, the body's own biology. One of the most powerful principles in nutritional science is that foods do not act in isolation. Their effect is often determined by what they're consumed with. This concept is known as food synergy, and it's especially important when we look at highly bioactive foods like blueberries. On their own, blueberries contain potent antioxidants, support cognitive function, reduce inflammation, and even help regulate blood sugar. But these benefits are not guaranteed. The key is not just in the food itself, but in how it's paired. The body responds differently when blueberries are consumed with supportive foods versus when they are combined with substances that block or compete with their function. Consider this: when blueberries are eaten with high-fiber, unprocessed foods, such as raw almonds, flax seeds, or unsweetened plant-based yogurts, the polyphenols are absorbed more effectively. These companion foods don't just stay out of the way, they actively enhance the digestive and metabolic environment. Fiber slows glucose absorption, which complements blueberries' own ability to blunt blood sugar spikes. Healthy fats help stabilize insulin signaling and promote satiety. The result is a harmonious response, nutrients working together, amplifying each other's effects. Now contrast that with a common breakfast, like blueberry muffins made with white flour and added sugar. That setting, the refined carbohydrates spike blood glucose, insulin is rushed into the bloodstream, and the body enters a pro-inflammatory state. Even though blueberries are present, their positive effects are vastly diminished. The inflammation and oxidative stress generated by the refined sugars overpower the antioxidants. In essence, the healthy food becomes a passenger in a metabolic environment it cannot control. Its voice is drowned out by louder, more disruptive signals. This same principle applies with dairy, as previously discussed, or artificial sweeteners or overly processed convenience products. The pairing dilutes or negates the intended benefit. That's where the concept of nutritional precision becomes essential. We must not only ask, is this food healthy, but also, what is it combined with? Because the net effect is determined not just by individual components, but by the interaction among them. The body's systems, cardiovascular, neurological, metabolic, are built to respond to whole food patterns, not isolated nutrients. Blueberries are a great example. Their polyphenols interact with enzymes in the liver, with the microbiome in the gut, and with endothelial cells in the vascular system. These interactions depend on context, what other compounds are present, what state the body is in, and whether the environment supports or suppresses bioactivity. This is why food combinations matter, not just from a culinary standpoint, but from a functional one. We cannot rely on the idea that some healthy is better than none. If we want to activate the full therapeutic potential of what we eat, we need to pay attention to the whole picture. Blueberries are powerful, but their power is conditional. They need the right partners, foods that support absorption, reduce competition for receptors, create a metabolic environment where their benefits can be realized. In the world of nutrition, perception often overrides physiology. People gravitate toward what looks or sounds healthy. Brightly colored fruit parfaits, cereal boxes stamped with antioxidant-rich, smoothies blended with trendy ingredients. But the body doesn't respond to marketing. It responds to molecular interactions, hormonal signals, enzymatic processes, and cellular pathways. This is where the gap between perception and reality becomes a critical point of discussion. Just because a food includes a healthy ingredient like blueberries doesn't mean it delivers the intended health benefit. And in some cases, it may do more harm than good. We are constantly told to more fruits and vegetables. And while this advice holds true, the nuance lies in how these foods are prepared, combined, and consumed. Common example is the blueberry yogurt parfait. It may be marketed as a health food, but once you examine the contents, added sugars, artificial flavors, dairy proteins that inhibit polyphenol absorption, you begin to see a different story. The blueberries are there, but their effect is compromised. The antioxidants are present but blocked. The intention was health, but the outcome is inflammation, metabolic disruption, and missed opportunity. The same pattern applies to many commercial health foods, protein bars with blueberries, but loaded with artificial sweeteners and emulsifiers, juices with blueberry extract, but stripped of fiber and spiked with fructose. The body doesn't get fooled, doesn't respond to labels or colors. It processes what's actually in the mix. This is why informed awareness matters more than surface-level choices. To eat for healing, for prevention, for vitality, one has to move beyond marketing and into the realm of metabolic literacy. What is this food doing inside the body? How does it interact with insulin, with endothelial function, with the gut microbiome, with mitochondrial energy production? These are the questions that determine whether a food truly supports health. There's also a psychological component. When we assume a food is healthy, we tend to lower our guard. A smoothie with blueberries might be consumed in greater quantity or frequency if we believe it's beneficial, even if it's loaded with added sugars or dairy. This is called the health halo effect. It can be one of the most dangerous traps in nutritional behavior. The very foods we trust can slowly steer us away from health, not because they're inherently bad, but because the details get ignored. To shift this, we need to cultivate a mindset of precision and purpose, not fear, but clarity. Food is information. Every bite carries a message to the body, influencing gene expression, hormone balance, immune activity, and more. Blueberries, when consumed properly, send healing signals. But those signals only go through if the pathway is clear, not obstructed by processed carbs, dairy proteins, or chemical additives. Health isn't just about what we eat. It's about how we eat it, what we combine it with. Recognizing this gives us real control over our well-being, one mindful choice at a time.